Yes.
Meeting to order. Have we complied with the open meeting law?
Yes, we have, Chair.
Public comment during this portion of the agenda is limited to matters on the agenda. Give your name for the record, the amount of discussion as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. Sorry. Call the roll.
Sure. Okay, we have Chair Wright,
Oh, here.
Vice Chair Stolo, I see is not present, and then we have Member Bellis, excused. I'm sorry, it's Commissioner Bellis, and Commissioner Hosh,
Here.
Commissioner Klink,
Here.
Commissioner White,
Here.
Commissioner Macmillan Arnold,
Present.
Commissioner Levine, excused, Commissioner Beck,
Here.
Commissioner Hotchkiss, excused, and Commissioner Millman.
Here.
Thank you.
Let's see. Approval of the minutes. Has everyone read the minutes? Any comments? Discussion? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is passed. Item 5, advance item for possible action regarding revisions to the city of Las Vegas history timeline. And I think we're going to combine 5 and 6 and also discuss the process for updating and revising. Meanwhile, is there a report from the chair of the subcommittee? Is that what we're doing today?
Okay. Just wanted to not cut you off. Meetings of the Special Purpose Las Vegas History Timeline Committee were held on July 16th and August 29th and October 18th, 2012 to discuss revisions to the timeline as posted on the city's official website. The committee reviewed the timeline for accuracy of content and established content criteria. The final draft of the, or not so final draft of the revisions for the history timeline are attached to the staff report. Since that time, I've had a couple of comments that staff has missed a few entries on here, such as the designation of the Berkeley Square Neighborhood Historic District and a couple. So staff would like to just go through and make sure that we have every single thing that's listed on the National Register in the city and the local register, all the buildings as we had decided to do on here. Those were the only additional comments that I received. So before it goes to Office of Communications to post, I'll make sure those are on there.
I have a comment. I know it's late in the process, but it's just one of those times when I was reading everything again. And on the, so do you want me to tell everyone?
Yeah, please.
It's on the first page. It's the first item.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's got Paleo Indians first arrived in the Las Vegas Valley more than 10,000 years ago. Some groups left behind petroglyphs, which have not all been interpreted yet. I realize that the some sounds like that it's some of the Paleo Indians, some groups of the Paleo Indians, which wouldn't be correct. I think the oldest dated rock art we have in the area possibly dates to 4,500 years ago. So I thought maybe if, instead of some, put later groups.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, once I started that, left behind, yeah. I recommend using rock art instead of petroglyphs because there's petroglyphs, pictographs, and geoglyphs. And they're all 3 distinct types of rock art.
So use rock art instead?
Petroglyphs. What I wrote was groups left behind rock art that still is visible on the landscape.
That sounds good.
So I'd end up reading later groups left behind rock art that still is visible on the landscape. That's okay.
I would like to say that the process has been a long process. We know it's not over, but I think the committee and this group has done a great job. And that we know that as we go into the future, changes will be accepted to this and made to this. We're just going through making those major changes, so, and I think everybody has been able to make some contributions, and we expected some people from the community today, but they didn't arrive, so maybe that discussion is over, Courtney.
Could be.
Okay, any other comments?
It was wonderful to serve as your chair.
I'm just impressed with all the work that you do. It's incredible.
Dave and Bob are to be commended.
You don't count all the hours in working like this. The 3 a.m. email and photo email.
Yeah.
Of course, Courtney put all of this together from these many, many, many emails.
Yes, you did a wonderful.
So that you've done a wonderful job, Courtney. We appreciate it so very much.
Thank you. And once it goes up, let's remember that things, it's a living document, so, and that's the next topic, is that in the future, when we want to make changes to the timeline, commissioners can just recommend changes to me via email, and that will be put on the next available HPC agenda for discussion, and after the wording is approved, it will be sent for posting.
You got the approval by a majority vote of the full
Right.
commission.
Yes.
There would be no subcommittee action required.
No subcommittee action required. I think with one or two items every so often, it's not going to be a big deal. The Office of Communications did request some type of backup documentation or citations to accompany revisions as much as possible.
And I think that's a great idea. And I think that's the reason we had the comments that we did have from the public, because it was never clear to some people what the truth was in those cases.
Right.
If you did get a request from the public, will that be brought to the commission?
Yes, absolutely.
It's probably a good idea at some point, somebody to go through all this and make citations for everything in here that doesn't have a citation down. I'm not planning on doing that in the near future, but at some point, somebody should probably do
It was probably nice for a retired person.
Right.
to do
That sounds like a good job for a retired person.
it. I know in the end I'll end up doing it, I know that.
And Dave, I understand that you're good at that type of thing.
It's probably worthwhile to have everything in here have a citation.
I think so, as much as possible. Yeah.
So, any more discussion? Do we want to have a motion that addresses both sides of the approval of the commission's approval of your proposed process? Any motion? Anybody want to make that motion? So moved.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, motion carried. Now they can Number 7, report by Department of Planning regarding the status of the rehabilitation of the historic West Side School located at 330 West Washington Avenue.
The major updates are that Chattel Architecture and KME are designing the rehabilitation for both buildings. They've started the work on that in conformance with the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties, and Whiting Turner was selected as the contractor for the project. So those are the two big things.
So the architect has changed?
Nope, it's the same architect, but they are subcontracting with Chattel as their historic preservation sub.
Oh, I see.
And Whiting Turner is a construction company, so they were just recently hired to do the construction.
Number 8, report by Department of Planning regarding administrative reviews of applications for building permits for properties listed on the City of Las Vegas Historic Property Register.
The Historic Preservation Officer administratively approved a permit application for 615 Franklin Avenue to complete plumbing work. Also, a permit application to replace existing electrical panel at 1240 South 9th Street. and for an above-ground jacuzzi in the backyard of 705 Park Paseo, all located in the John S. Park Neighborhood Historic District.
Engineering, report by plan, department plan regarding historic preservation commission centennial legacy budget.
No expenses to report.
Number 10, report by department plan regarding public outreach.
May I ask a question on that?
Sure.
Are we now accepting,
Not yet. The grant application's not yet, but we have a couple of things that we need to do to take care of that, and I will keep you posted. It might be a couple of months.
Number 10, public outreach items.
Nothing to report. I know.
it's great to have these all together. Sometimes we miss one in the newspaper,
Good.
so I just appreciate you doing that.
I do too, I think it's very valuable.
Oh, good.
Number 11, report by department plan regarding project update list.
The 2012 HPF grant work has already started on this. So the deadline is June of 2000, that should say June of 2012, or no, that is right, June of 2013. The scenic byway grants, we had applied for the 2012 scenic byway grant for $353,400 for the restoration and installation of 2 neon signs in the Las Vegas Boulevard median, basically continuing down the median to Sahara, and we were denied. The scenic byway coordinator at Nevada Department of Transportation said that it was a worthy grant, but they did not have as big a pot of money as they've had in the past, and so it was a very difficult decision. Of course, maybe they say that to all the grant applicants, but they had to deny us. And the funding is a little bit sketchy for the future. So the scenic byway funding has been, instead of being a separate program within a larger transportation pot of money for grant projects, that's been removed. And so all of the scenic byway funding is now getting lumped in with transportation funds without being a separate funding allocation. So that means that any request for scenic byway funding will be competing with roads and sidewalks and other kind of road projects. So I'm not sure how this is going to work in the future, but we will be working with NDOT to try to craft an application that is competitive.
Is there still money for previous grants that hasn't been spent?
There is. We are still going through an administrative process with NDOT on the 2009 grant. I mean, that's how long once these are approved, and it takes years for them. Right. But we still have that money, so it's just going through all of the internal process to get it.
2009 was the last.
Right.
So is the scenic byway money, I realize it's been removed, is it originally federal funding?
It's federal funding, but it's administered through NDOT. And so now it's going with a big pot of federal transportation funds.
Courtney, with the existing money, how much money is there for putting up the neon signs?
The 2009 grant was for 2 to 3 neon signs, and I think that was not enough money, and the Centennial Commission had to augment that. But that is what that's for.
Is there any money still in a pot for putting up more signs, or
Nope.
so that might just be the end of that project?
Well, we'll finish it out. It just may take longer. I mean, the goal is to go all the way to Sahara. We may have to look at different grant
'Cause I think it's a great
opportunities.
project.
Yeah, it's definitely the vision.
I only have one comment. I probably shouldn't say this, but I wish they would separate the palm tree project from the sign project because you can't see the sign as it's in place.
certainly look at that when we place the signs, is how far away will they be from the palm trees, and looking at the height of the signs as well. We
Yes,
cer-
even if they were farther apart, that would still
Yeah.
be palm trees, but not right there.
Yeah. You know, the palm trees help beautify what could otherwise described as kind of a not always delightful stretch of Las Vegas Boulevard. So we're a little hesitant to take those out, but certainly we do look at that in the placement of the signs, and we'll continue to do that. I think as we have more redevelopment occur along the boulevard, we'll probably take some of those palm trees out.
Has the Centennial Commission allocated all of the monies necessary for the West Side School already?
The $4 million was bonded, so all of that money is not accessible now, but that's definitely been approved. And that was the total amount. There's a little bit left from 2 previous grant fundings, and I believe those are spoken for. So we are actually looking for additional money because we could be about $1 million shy of being able to finish the project with all the funding collected, so to date.
I understood there is a possibility that the state cultural commission may be refunded, because I got that letter.
Yes.
And I said, well, can we do signs with it? And he said, no.
Oh.
That's in the original legislation, only for buildings. But
Oh.
maybe the city could get, give it out in dribs and drabs. But
Yeah, we submitted 3 letters of intent for the Floyd Lamb Park Adobe, the roofs at Floyd Lamb, and West Side School. They had to kind of be quasi-emergencies, according to Ron James, so anything that was, to fix something to keep further deterioration from happening, or,
maybe a building.
yeah, I know.
Number 12.
Downtown projects. First of all, let the record reflect that I have been rebuked by Commissioner House for not informing everyone of the wonderful restaurant Eat, which is located on the southeast corner of 7th and Carson. So again, please let the
I don't
minutes
think
reflect
that's a
that.
minute-worthy item.
So it is a great place for brunch on a lazy weekend morning, so if you do have a chance, you should stop by there. Other projects that we'd like to point out in the downtown area, we had actually 4 that were approved last night at Planning Commission. Identified as Project 101, we have 2 tavern limited establishments that were approved for the ground floor of the Ogden building there at Las Vegas Boulevard and Ogden. These 2 tavern limited establishments will be going in right next door to Rachel's Kitchen, which has already been approved and I believe has started construction there. One of the restaurants is going to be an organic pizza restaurant where they make pizzas only with organic ingredients. It's a shop that's out of New York that they've brought here to Las Vegas, so that should be very interesting once it gets up and running. 2 other projects. Project number 102. This is at the former Downtown Senior Services Center at 9th and Bridger. I think most of you are aware the city sold that property earlier this year to the Downtown Projects Group. They got approval last night to do a private school, elementary school there within the facility. They aren't making any changes to the exterior of the building. They are going to be adding a wall around the property because they're going to be having some outdoor play spaces for the children there. The wall itself will look much like the wall that we have at the Fifth Street School, so it's going to be a decorative wall as opposed to some of the others that we've seen. So that will be a very interesting reuse of that building. And then the last project, project number 103, the Downtown Projects Group has purchased an apartment complex on South 8th Street. What they're going to be doing is housing some students that they have there who will be participating in tech workshops with the Downtown Projects Group and Zappos. And so they'll bring them in for 3 months at a time. They'll reside there. They've actually taken away the majority of the parking spaces there on the apartment property complex to turn them into common outdoor spaces for those who are residing there. And they've reserved one of the parking spaces for an electric vehicle that the residents will share. So we're looking at some sustainability measures there. So those were 4 projects of interest that were approved in the downtown area last night at Planning Commission.
The downtown projects group, is that the Zappos?
Yeah, it's the outgrowth of Zappos for bringing new development to the downtown area and new businesses to the downtown area.
So they've actually purchased the, was it church?
Yeah.
And the private school, who do they expect, will that be their employees' children?
Anyone would be able to attend. It's a tuition-based school, so,
Whole community?
yes.
Well, that's right behind the 18th grade, has the St. Joseph's School.
Yeah.
Primary being all the way through fifth?
What they're doing, as they described it last night, they're starting out with kindergarten and first grade, and then as the class progresses, they'll keep adding new grades up through fifth grade.
What are they planning to do about parking in that downtown area? To go into each, if you don't have quarters, or to go into La Tide, if you don't have a pocket full of change, it's really difficult.
You know what I do? Maybe Lean, stop taking minutes. There's a couple of different options. One of the things I do, I often park at the El Cortez and wander through the El Cortez. There's also parking at Neonopolis and the Red Garage, which are just a block away from most of those restaurants. We had a survey done. We have a new parking manager for the city of Las Vegas. We've got about 46,000 spaces in the downtown area. The occupancy rate of those parking spaces, I think, is, I'm going off the top of my head, about 40%. So we have a supply. It's just, it's not always where people want them to be.
Exactly.
And so one of the things that we...
Used to free parking on the strip and everywhere else.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So one of the things that we need to do is educate people about parking, and that includes the signage program. Also, our parking manager is going to be developing a parking app for those of you who have these things and know how to use them, which will identify where available spaces are based on where you're going. So there's a couple of different ways that we can take care of that. But again, we do have more supply right now than demand. It's just not always right in front of the door.
Take quarters.
How does it work to, when a merchant validates your parking, do they have to pay the city something to pay for that, or?
It depends on the individual garage. For example, at Neonopolis, the city has the ground floor of the garage, but the upper floor of the garage is actually controlled by Neonopolis. And so it depends on the individual arrangements.
I mean, like if you go into a casino and they give you 2 hours to, well, that's usually their own lot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just the red garage in Neonopolis, which there may be funding arrangements for those where you have validation.
Are you going to be switching out the meters where Clayton needs quarters? To have smart meters so she can use her debit card?
Yes.
That is-
My next question.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
That is the long-term plan, is to switch out the,
And I'm fine with that. It's just that I learned a long time ago that my purse is a lot lighter.
You don't have to-
Coins out every day.
Yeah.
yeah. So we are moving to the modern era when it comes to parking.
Are there questions or discussion? Item 13, regarding topics for future agenda items, but if you see comments made during this portion of the agenda by individual commission members showing purchase only proposals for future agenda items, and any discussion shall be limited to whether or not any such proposed items are within the purview of the commission, and whether such proposed items shall be placed on a future agenda. No discussion regarding the substance of the such proposal shall occur. No other action shall be taken regarding the proposal. Any items for future agenda? Item 14, this is citizens here. Waive the reading of this, correct?
Yes.
So our next meeting in January, the same, we'll continue as we go.
Right, the fourth Wednesday. Please